March 29th, 2019.
This is Nerd Bourbon episode 95. I'm Seth Sturgill.
And I'm Todd Sturgill.
Oh, Todd, it's early.
It's very early, but it needed to happen.
Did it, though?
Not really. It definitely didn't need to happen. It was just kind of like a, hey, want to knock it out early?
I guess so. I'm here. I'm awake. I'm not happy about it, but I'm awake.
Well, you were already awake, technically.
I wasn't happy about it then either. I'm not a morning person. Can I just say that?
Oh.
I've never been a morning person.
I'm not a morning person or a night person. I'm just a walking corpse.
And then I have this, trying to fix my sleep schedule, and it's just not. It's just not where I basically my days are just a series of naps at this point. I just do not sleep.
Well, at this point, it's I think when you get back from Chicago, I think you're gonna end up going back overnight anyways, right?
I probably will, but I don't think that I sleep more than 3 hours at a time right now, because it's just a constant series of naps for me right now, basically.
That's not good, dude.
No, it's not.
That's not good at all.
No, it's not. And I really want to fix it before we go to Chicago, but it sucks because my wife can't drive in the early morning at night, so she's been having to work early in the morning, so I've been having to drive her.
Yeah.
So if it weren't for that, I would honestly probably have a decent sleep schedule at this point, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just a fucking mess of a human being. Todd, what have you been up to this week?
Well. What I've been up to is not playing enough of Sekiro.
But you have gotten a chance to play a little bit of it.
I have gotten a chance to play a little bit of it. It's just the first day I really had the time to sit down and actually really dive deep into it. I was in that state of just unadulterated depression where it's I jumped on and I'm like, fucking that day just turned into me just sleeping, honestly. Sleeping, and then I woke up and got my new desk set up, and that was about it. And then I looked at the game, jumped on it for maybe a second, then I'm I'm going back to sleep.
You don't really like to play games when you're not off of work.
Yeah, I don't like doing it.
So you basically just like to relegate your main gaming time to your days off, which you really, the day that you're just talking about has been really the only day off you've had since Sekiro's release until today.
No,
so.
yeah, until this time of the recording, yeah. Which is what I'm looking forward to. I will definitely be jumping into it today, technically.
Gonna be going balls deep today?
Oh, going balls deep. So I can't talk a little bit about the game, and I really enjoy it so far. So far what I've played. I've probably only done one mainline boss, because it's dead ass the only thing that I've seen with Shinobi Execution.
Now, what does that mean? Is that the kind of killing blow thing?
No, how when you fight a main boss in Dark Souls 1, it says some shit.
Oh, enemy vanquished kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's that. That's how I fought a good amount of mini bosses, but only one main boss.
Right.
And that main boss was legit. I actually really enjoyed him. For the most part, he's this you just pop up on this field and it's this fucking on a horseback and shit. I was like, okay,
nice.
Yeah, it's very cool. But let me backtrack to just the mechanics of the game that I really love so far. So the combat, I'm still trying to figure out if it's my favorite or not. It's pretty good. It's pretty good combat.
Now, I've kind of heard some things about the combat where is it? I haven't watched too much gameplay of it or anything, and obviously I haven't played the game, but I hear it's basically parry strats the game.
Yeah, yes and no. It is that very much based off deflecting and blocking,
right?
Because there's two different mechanics. So your whole goal is to get to the death blow, right?
Right.
And you can get to the death blow obviously by breaking their posture, which is a mechanic, which is, it's not stamina, but kind of. But then there's also vitality. So the thing with vitality and posture work together. So this goes for you as well. So if your vitality's low your posture will not recover.
Okay.
So that's actually something you do to your enemies, though. You like if you're having trouble whittling down their posture with when they're at full health, you whittle down their vitality to the point where their shit won't recover. So at that point, it gets a little easier to get the death blow and whatnot like that.
And then when you whittle down the posture, that's when they're open to attack.
Yeah, you can dead ass you can fuck their posture while they have full health technically if you're good enough.
Right.
And while they're at full vitality and just death blow them, boom, done.
Okay. Interesting.
Honestly, there's a lot of skill involved with the combat. Honestly, it's still hard. I think I've seen a lot of people say this. If you try to play this game like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, you're not going to do well.
Right.
You need to kind of relearn. You just need to play this game like it's its own fucking thing. That's the main thing. Don't play this game like it's a Souls game, even though it very much has some soul shit. Obviously, it's fucking FromSoft. But just jumping into it, as I know, I basically I'm already I'm trying to relearn what I need to do, because I definitely try to do the shit that I would normally do in Bloodborne or Dark Souls, and it does not work.
Right.
It does not work. Don't do it. You're gonna get your ass whooped. Other than that, it's I don't think the game. I think the game has a steep learning. I think the game has a steep learning curve. Honestly, this is true. I heard. I'm going. I'm kind of rambling, but I don't give a shit. One of the main things, this game actually might be harder for actual Souls veterans.
Because you kind of have to unlearn.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to because a lot of that soul shit's muscle memory at this point for motherfuckers that have been playing it for so long.
And that's the thing that from everything that I've read, this is not a Souls game.
Yeah. It is its own thing, and I honestly I love it for it, because that's my thing with FromSoft. I want them to do new things.
Right.
And that's what I've always wanted. I'm kind of I want them to move on from the Soul series and start doing some new shit. But and then just getting into other aspects of the game, I love the verticality of the game. I love the fact that there's a jump, a legitimate jump.
Right.
There's you can climb shit. It's not super crazy climbing, but you can climb shit and get on top of these the buildings and shit in the game. Because stealth is a major component in the game as well, and that is one. I don't really play into the stealth too hard, other than maybe clearing out random mobs.
Mm-hmm.
But because for me, I've been putting because I've definitely been putting more. God damn, I need to backtrack because I need to talk about the basics of the game.
Hey, look, you can tackle this in whatever order you want, Todd.
Yeah. So yeah, another thing with the game is there's no stats, really.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
So the only stats you really have that get upgraded are your attack power and your vitality. And the vitality gets upgraded by getting prayer beads.
Okay.
You get prayer beads by mini bosses. You can buy them. And when you have 4, you can upgrade your vitality. Attack power comes from battle memories, which is, I think, I'm assuming you're going to get those from the main bosses, not the optional fights, but the main shit. I might be wrong on that. I'm still pretty early on, but that is because I've only got the one memory from the horseback boss,
right,
which gave me that upgraded my attack power.
Okay.
That's another thing where there is no leveling up. This is get good the fucking game. This is a pure skill based game. There is you're upgrading your attack shit, you're upgrading your vitality, but other than that, it's based on pure skill, honestly. Because it's there's the only other thing that you can get is obviously, so you have 2 currencies in the game, which is not really even a currency. It's you actually get experience in this one, and those experience points, they fill the bar. You get skill points, and then with the skill points, you can obviously buy skills. That's the only thing you're getting. You're gonna get some new abilities, but here's the deal: it's really usually it's your medicinal gourd, which is the Estus flask of the game. It'll heal you a little more. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing that's game changing, really. Other than there's a couple abilities that I've seen where you can do the death blow. It'll give you vitality and shit like that. But for the most part, you are you were put in this game. You were given a sword. You were given the prosthetic arm, and then you'll find items in the game that you can like fit into the prosthetic, and those become your prosthetic tools and shit like that. That's it. You got to get good. It is get good the game.
So is that legitimately like all of the shit that you get throughout the entire course of the game?
It's kind of like, dude, they give you everything you basically need. From what I know, like
I like that.
It's like you'll find like shit in the game that you can fit into the prosthetic. Like what I have right now, I have throwing stars. I have I have an axe and the prosthetic tool. I have fireworks, which is used to like stun people. I have the mist raven feather, which is actually pretty fucking cool, honestly.
Okay.
That one, when you activate it, like when somebody tries to attack you, you'll like kind of like you'll teleport basically.
Ooh.
Do a little like think about like the way I describe it is like think about like the the like substitution shit like in ninjutsu crap.
Yes, where they sort of like teleport away and leave like a dummy.
That's kind of where I got from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for the most part, again, it is honestly the most skill-based experience that I've had in a Souls game, because it's just like, dude, if you don't learn this game, you're gonna get your fucking ass whooped, like bad.
Yeah.
Like you need to understand that deflection, like learning how to deflect is important.
Right.
Like, and then but also knowing when to run is like so key into this game. That's one of the main things I've noticed.
What do you mean by that? Do you mean knowing when to turn tail and be like,
back
fuck
the
this?
Fuck up.
Okay.
Dude, just back the fuck up. Because, like, dude, it's bad.
Like, don't get greedy kind of thing?
Dude, don't get greedy.
Yeah.
Because, dude, that's the thing. If you do get hit, dude, it's bad. Like, everything in this game does a lot of damage.
Damn.
Like again, like one of the mini bosses, like I went to fight. Like, I was like, I fucked up once. He hit me like dead ass once. He about one shot me. I was like, oh shit.
Jesus.
I was like, okay, let me back the fuck up. Let me go rest, get my health back. Then I'll go back and do it again.
They ain't fucking around.
His ass. No, they ain't fucking around with this game. And there's so much cool shit that I love about this game so far. Is like obviously like getting around the game's fun with the grappling hook. That's another thing with the prosthetic.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. That's one of the things I'm like, man.
Dude, the grappling hook's fun. Like, I mean, it's not like you can just magically use it. There's, like, points and shit.
Right.
But for the most part, there is a point on a lot of these buildings. So you can, like, grapple up, like, pretty often. And then there's even, like, things with the skills. Like, I have, like, the grapple attack where, like, basically if I hit the attack button out of a grapple, I'm basically doing a spinning sword slash on somebody.
Nice.
So
let me ask you this: is it like a more traditional skill tree, or is it like or is it set up like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, where?
No, straight up skill tree.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
And there's multiple skill trees.
Nice.
So there is the Shinobi skill tree, which is primarily it's kind of your main skill tree and mainly used for like there's more stealth shit in there,
right?
Honestly. Then there is the prosthetic tree, which obviously upgrades, like, you can get some, like, prosthetic-based skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's, like, one that I need to get called Fang and Blade, which I keep on forgetting about. But then there's the one that I've been primarily focusing on, which is the Ashina skill tree, which is basically made for combat focus.
Okay.
Not stealth, but mainly combat focus. It's, like, mainly based on fucking with their posture and doing more damage after deflecting, and like doing more posture damage while after deflecting, shit like that. But that's been the main skill tree I'm focusing on. And I know there's more in the game. I've seen them before. On like I was like on like the wiki like a couple days ago. I was like looking at shit. Not like I didn't want to like spoil anything, but I was looking at the skill trees.
Yeah.
So there's like I think there's like 2 or 3 more, basically.
Some more things come available to you as you get further in the story.
Yes. And I know for a fact, like, one of the areas, like, I was talking to you, I was like, yeah, like, I played a little bit, and I just kind of, like, got to certain area, like, the starting point of certain areas. I know one of the skill trees is from one of the areas I have unlocked right now that I'm going to, like, go fuck with probably today.
I see.
So
tell me a little bit about, because one of the things that was interesting to me about this game is that you're playing, like, a character, like, in a story.
Yes.
So, like, tell me a little bit about the story. What's the story setup?
From what I can see, okay. Story wise, you basically you start out. It's dude, I'm dead ass. It's so similar to fucking Dark Souls 1.
Is it?
Well, you're in the bottom of a well, basically, just basically left for dead.
Right.
Honestly, and like you got like basically no will to live and shit like that, and then somebody frees you, like straight up, like that Dark Souls 1 level shit.
Yeah.
And tells you, your master's waiting for you, Kuro, Lord. Well, also shout out to the fact that I can play this game with Japanese voice
It
acting.
defaults to it, right?
Defaults, yes.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it defaults to Japanese, although somebody on Twitter was like, hey, like, even though it defaults to Japanese voice acting, you may want to
The English
check
voice
out.
acting is not. The English voice acting is good. I've heard.
Yeah, I hear the English dub is actually pretty solid.
It's pretty solid. But here's the thing: if I have a choice, I'm gonna listen to the Japanese.
Yeah.
You start out in this well. You make your way to. That's the whole point from what I've seen. Is, well, after you get your fucking arm cut off, like you go to spoilers.
I don't think that's a
obviously.
spoiler.
I know. It's one of the main things of the game.
Yeah. I mean, you're
But,
talking about the entry, like the first hour,
Yeah, it really is. Like the whole point from what I've seen, because I'm still so early on,
Right.
is you basically in that little tutorial area. But this is before you even have your arm cut off. You just got your sword. That's about it. You don't even have a sword for like the first like 5-10 minutes at some shit like that.
Right.
Just because you get to Kuro. There's like a little kid basically, and there's people after him for reasons of the fact that he has like some divine blood, like the dragon heritage or some shit,
Okay.
which is a mechanic there's a mechanic behind that.
So that was
later.
something that I wanted to ask about too. Yeah.
So yeah, and it's based off that's a whole mechanic that I'm gonna get to. So you basically get to the point you fight this one boss, which apparently you can beat in the tutorial.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Here's the deal. I'm gonna be honest. I was so new to this game. I did not know. Like I was not prepared for a lot of the shit when I first started playing it. Like all the deflect shit, how fast the game was. But I got my ass whooped in like seconds.
Oh,
It was hilarious.
look, it's not as if like the game isn't expecting you to like turn it on and instantly like be able to beat
Oh,
it.
dude, I'm telling you, I started this boss fight, and I was dead within like 10 seconds. It was hilarious. I was like, oh
But you know
shit.
it's going to be one of those things when you're more familiar with the game on repeat playthroughs, you're going to go back.
Oh, yeah,
and,
I'm probably gonna beat him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need to beat him. That's the thing. So it's like either way, you get your arm cut off. That's the
Right.
whole thing. And you wake up. That starts a whole thing. Like you're trying to get back, trying to get your master back, trying to save him, basically. So from what I can understand, the main reasoning behind them wanting this kid, the boss, I forget his name, like can say something with a G, just whatever. But he wants the kid's blood, basically,
Okay.
which has the power to resurrect, from what I can tell. I don't know if there's like more to it, but that is definitely the main reason that your character can resurrect, is because you have been given your master's blood.
Okay.
And that's where the shadows die twice thing comes from.
Right.
The fact.
So is that what that means? Is essentially it's like you can just straight up resurrect after you die?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. Like if you fall in battle, like at the moment I have 2 resurrection little nodes basically. I know you can actually get more. I think you can get like 3 or 4. But it's not like you can just randomly pop those. Like you die, you'll be able to resurrect. You can choose to die if you want, or you can resurrect, like in the midst of combat, in the midst of everything, and then it'll be on a cooldown for a little bit.
Right.
So technically, if you survive that cooldown, you can technically use it multiple times in like a boss fight.
So
technically,
what are the downsides to that?
Now there you go. Let's get into the dragon rot.
See, that's what I was really curious about, because that mechanic sounds interesting to me.
So this is something, if you continuously die, if you're continuously dying, I don't know if there's like more to it, like there's like how far you get into the game or whatnot, but if you continuously keep on dying, from what I can tell, just without getting that far into the game, it seems like when you resurrect, you're like taking the life force from those around you.
Interesting.
That's what that's my in my brain, that's what I've like kind of seen.
Yeah.
And what happens with that is like they obviously start getting ill and sick. And what happens with that is that removes that worsens your chance of unseen aid. And unseen aid is another pretty interesting little mechanic where this isn't like Dark Souls and like, you know, Bloodborne, where if you die, you can go and like claim your shit basically. So if you die in this game, you lose a chunk of your sen, which is your money. And obviously your money is used to like buy shit from the shops and whatnot, and upgrades for your prosthetic arm. Like that's another thing, you can actually straight up upgrade these prosthetic tools as well.
Nice. I like that.
They honestly seems like they get pretty crazy. Like they start getting like elemental shit.
Jesus.
Yeah, shit looks pretty dumb. And then you also, but this is this shit that really hurts is you'll lose a part of the XP towards your next skill point.
Ah.
So obviously you don't want to die, and then the unseen aid's nice because it's like you won't lose anything. It's like you die, it's like haha, you're good.
I see. So that's an interesting way of handling that.
Yeah, I really again, there's a lot of just cool, interesting things with this game that I'm like, I'll obviously probably be talking about the game more once I like get deeper into it.
Do you feel like the dragon rot mechanic sort of discourages you? Because one of the things that I like about Souls games, especially like on first playthroughs, is sort of like beating your head against a boss, like just trying to learn it, you know? Mm-hmm. And you may die, 10, 15 times before you figure the boss out. And like, yeah. I'm just wondering, now that you know that people's like lives are on the line, do you feel like it sort of discourages the experimental like gameplay loop?
I feel like in a way it could, but honestly, like I don't know like the full depths of how Dragon Rot works at the moment.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's a cool mechanic, honestly. Like, it's just because again, it's easy enough to cure because you just gotta have like this item, and I don't know like how hard that. I've cured it like twice already.
Oh, so it's something that you can. So it's essentially like humanity then.
In a way,
where you can just sort of like pop an item to actually rid people of it or whatever.
I mean, like the item is pretty fucking expensive, but
okay. So that
it is.
That makes sense. Yeah, at that point, it essentially works the same way as like like an Ember or Humanity.
In a way,
yeah,
definitely in a way.
Interesting.
It's still an interesting enough thing that can like, because I honestly you want that unseen aid as like high as possible,
right?
So
interesting.
You don't lose anything when you do die.
I'm intrigued by the game because it's like it is so far from being just another Souls game.
No, it's its own thing, and it's like it is. My bottom line for me, it is get good the game, because it is like, it's not like it's Dark Souls and like you're like, oh, I'll just fucking summon 3 motherfuckers and gank this boss. Nah, bitch.
What's going on? Let me ask you this before we move on. What's going on with the like the art style, like the designs of the bosses?
Oh, so I mean, you're not gonna like I've seen images of other bosses. Like there is some like fantasy-esque shit,
right?
Like, I wouldn't say like, because dude, I'm telling you right now, that's actually a moment I do need to talk about. The fucking giant ass snake. Holy shit! So there's a point where you are sneaking. You have to legitimately sneak your way, like past this giant snake. And I'm gonna be honest, my ass was clenched. Like this entire time, I'm like, bro, don't see me. Don't fucking see me, because like this is like you big. It's. I think people have said it's like I think if people have saw it's like ancient wild. You apparently can kill it. I didn't know this, but I'm probably gonna go back and kill it. But I have damaged it in a way, because it's like I get into the side this like fucking like this little tent, and it like dude it gets right up to it. Its eyes like looking at me. I'm like, oh shit, God. Dude, I death blow that motherfucker right in the eye. And I'm telling you, at that point, I fucking dip. I'm just running. I'm like, that sounds time to go.
That sounds fucking horrifying,
dude. I was like absolutely terrifying. I was like, holy shit. I was like, God. There's like honestly some scary little moments I've had in that game. Like there's like I've run into like zombie-esque ass things.
Okay.
I was like, what the shit?
That's the kind of thing I was curious about, because like with Bloodborne and Dark Souls both, like I love the art of those games.
I love the way the game looks, honestly.
Nice.
Like I love seeing like that typical like Japanese like buildings and shit, architecture and all that.
Yeah.
And I've seen like I have seen an image of one boss that is just full on like that dragon that you'd imagine from like Japanese shit.
Right.
And I cannot wait to see that like for myself. Overall, the art style is really good. I can't wait to see like more of the shit in game.
Well, shit, I imagine you're probably gonna have more to say about it next week too.
Oh, I definitely will. Even though I've had like almost 30 minutes of me rambling.
Well, look, I mean, that's I definitely want to give you. I mean, look, these games are event games for you, so it's like you need to be allowed to have a platform to just go.
It's the thing. I was thinking about this to myself at work. Actually, is like I am in such a different place than I've been with like my life. I can't like focus on it as much as I'd like love to.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me a little sad. But I'm like, shit, it's life.
That's just how it goes sometimes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me. Like, I would have loved to have, like, taken, like, the week off and just did nothing but play Kingdom Hearts or whatever. But, I mean, it took me, like, a month and a half to beat Kingdom Hearts.
Yep. I honestly, here's the thing. I think I'm going to be in the same boat with Sekiro, man. I honestly think it's going to take me that long.
That's how it is.
It's just one, like, I got legit 2 days out of the week where I can go balls deep.
Well, Todd, as a wise man once said, it be like that sometimes.
You do.
But I'm sure you'll have more to say. By this time next week, you'll put some more time into it. We'll get some more Sekiro talk next week for sure. And look, I mean, again, these are big event games for you. These are the kind of games that you'll be playing for a while. I mean, I'm sure we're going to be talking about Sekiro. There's going to be Sekiro talk to come in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll replace the Monster Hunter talk until Monster Hunter Iceborne.
So, I have 2 games that I kind of want to talk about, although one of them I've really only played for, like 2 hours. The first one, you actually were present with me. We actually recorded a little bit of gameplay. I kind of did like a sort of similar to how I've done in the past with games like A Hat in Time. We did like a Fortnite video where we basically just kind of like play it for like an hour just to kind of get a taste of it.
Yeah.
I did that for a game that I've had my eye on for a long time. It's an indie game, so I guess this is technically a little trip to Seth's Indie Corner. Cue the hipster music. It's called A Ghost of a Tale, and this game is very interesting because it is a stealth RPG that I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it because it's an interesting mix of a few things. Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot of that, but it's also very like side quest heavy, and
it's like weird side quests. It's like collect bullshit.
Some of them are fetchy, yeah, and some of them are really interesting too, though, as you get further. But the big thing is it takes place in this world that is completely based around like animals, like mice. Like your main character is actually a small mouse named Tilo, who is escaping a prison trying to save his wife Mira, and you're being held captive by these large like rat guards. It made me think very much of Redwall, if anybody listening is familiar with Redwall, and that was what sort of attracted me to the game originally. But as I began to play it, I was like, okay, this is actually kind of an interesting little stealth game that gives you quite a bit of options. The thing that annoys me the most, and I'll tell you, I'm so impressed with this game in so many ways, because for this to be an indie game with like a pretty detailed set of like stealth systems, like there's actually a lot at your disposal. You actually have a lot of tools. So like you have the typical, I can throw a stick, I can throw a bottle or whatever. There's also like these slime jars that can make the guards fall over, knock them unconscious. There are There are several different disguises which grant Tilo like different abilities and different perks. And again, like the world that you're exploring is actually like rather large and it's all interconnected. So like you kind of need that shit. Like you kind of need, like in some cases, for example, when you get the guard's disguise.
Did you finally get that? Because I know you didn't get that.
Yes.
By the time we finished playing.
Yes. So I'll tell you a little bit of a story here. So we did that gameplay session for, hour and change or whatever, and I actually ended up restarting the game.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I was looking at the trophy list, and the trophy list is extremely annoying. Because one of the trophies is, like, play through the entire game without eating any food, right? Mm-hmm. And in that gameplay session, like, the first thing I did was eat some fucking food. So I was like, well, shit. So
fuck that up real quick.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, so let me actually just restart the game and just make sure not to eat food, because you can refill your stamina. That's one interesting thing the game does. Your stamina and your health are the same thing. So if a rat guard attacks you, he's not only just attacking you and your health, but it's also like kind of taking away your ability to run away also. It's interesting. I kind of like that. That's not really a problem for me because I'm going through the game as a complete ghost. Like, if I get spotted at all, boom, I'm reloading a previous save. So I'm planning on playing through the entire game without ever being spotted. But yes, when you get the full guard outfit, you can sort of move around more freely. You still can't get too close. You can't be, like, stupid about it.
Like, walking up to him as this tiny little mouse. How's it going?
Yeah, exactly. But you've got a lot more. You have way more like free reign over the prison. You can kind of you can get around a lot more easily, and that's sort of the purpose of this. They didn't want it to be cumbersome to go and like complete all these side missions and stuff. And the guard outfit is actually necessary to go down a quest chain anyway. So the interesting thing about A Ghost of a Tale though is like the story is like really good. Like, really well thought out, really well... like, the lore is very interesting to the point where, like, when I pick up a book in the game... when you pick up a book in Elder Scrolls, it, like, the book, like, takes up the whole screen, and you just kind of, like, maybe you'll stop and read it, maybe you'll be interested, but for the most part, you just put it away, right?
I read it, but...
I read some of them. I don't read all of them. In this one, though... the stuff is so interesting that you'll pick up books and you actually have to like dig through the menu to find the book, but you kind of want to, because it's that interesting. And your character is a minstrel. So occasionally you'll have to sing songs, and the songs tell like the stories of the world too. It's fucking actually like way more deep than you would ever expect.
That's one thing I noticed in that like little hour session. I was like, damn.
You can tell basically instantly. They're just these really cool like these really cool little things like that. Like for example, the mice carry around they carry around these sort of effigies as part of their culture. Where if they get married and have kids, they'll have these effigies that are kind of like covered in like white resin, and when one of them dies, they're covered in the ashes when they're cremated. They cover the effigy in the ash, and they carry the mice, the male mice carry these with them their entire lives. And it's interesting because there are characters that you meet and you see that they have some of these effigies on them. And you're like, oh, like shit, like what happened to you kind of thing. It's little things like that in the lore that are interesting. And the game has just a really unique visual style. Like it just looks really good for what it is, and every now and then it gets a little framey when there's a lot like going on. I'm playing the game on PS4. I'm sure on a really high-end PC the game runs beautifully, but and I've encountered a few bugs here and there. I've encountered a few kind of like janky things. It's an indie game, you know what I mean? It's not like some AAA super polished, but for what it is, it's interesting. And I gotta tell you though, if anybody is listening, I don't know the developer's name, so I apologize for that. But if anybody just one day, for whatever reason, happens to be listening to this, the trophy list is awful. It really is. Like, some of the stuff is understandable. I could, look, doing all the side quests, cool. You know, I get that. Doing certain things in certain places like that makes sense to me. Getting through the game without being spotted, that makes sense to me. Even the stamina thing makes sense to me. But like opening all the shutters, that doesn't make sense to me. Especially considering that most of the shutters are meaningless. Like most of them, you open them up and you can't even go through the window that they're covering. So why open them naturally? There's one for burning all of the banners in the game. There's a trophy for stealing every handkerchief off of the back of every guard. If I want to get the platinum in this game, I'm legitimately going to have to go behind every guard and steal their handkerchief off their back. Every guard in the game.
Well, this game, I'm looking at the development, actually, of the game. It is mostly a one-man project.
Interesting, okay.
By Lionel, I don't know how the fuck do you pronounce that last name?
French?
It's like Gallat?
Okay.
Gallat? No, I don't know.
Okay.
A veteran, DreamWorks and Universal Pictures animator and animation director.
Wow, I'll say this, the animation is excellent in the game.
Well, yeah.
So that makes sense.
He worked on such films as The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado, and Shark Tale. Wow.
That's hilarious. The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado, both very great movies, and then Shark Tale. That's hilarious.
Here's the thing, I don't hate Shark Tale.
It's like, that is a pedestrian ass movie.
That right there is like exactly what it is. I don't hate it.
But you know what? I mean, considering it's a one-man team, I mean, for the most part, it's very impressive. Like the lore, I can't stress this enough. The lore is so impressive. It's just, I gotta be honest with you, and I know that I'm not alone. I mean, like there are a lot of people in the Xbox and PlayStation communities where trophies and achievements, they matter.
You know what's funny though is you mentioning Redwall. He apparently was inspired by such films such as The Secret of Nim, The Dark Crystal, Disney's Robin Hood, and as well as the Redwall book series.
Oh yeah, yeah. You could tell. You could definitely tell. And Redwall is actually it's such a Redwall is a huge part of my childhood, huge. So that's why the second that I saw gameplay of this, I was like, oh, this has Redwall vibes up the ass. I need to play this game. and it totally does. It totally reminds me. It's much more dark than Redwall ever got, but it's still really, really cool. And I like that, there's certain, just social things, the dialogue is really well considered, too. For example, so you end up, and this isn't much of a spoiler, you end up meeting a character very early on. He's the character that actually helps you break out of the jail. And, if you want to snoop around, if you really want to snoop around in his house, you can find out things about his past that you weren't necessarily, that are just none of your business, just straight up none of your business. And you can poke and prod, and you can try to get the information out of him, and you can kind of make it a little bit of a fragile relationship with him. Mm-hmm. Or you can just sort of trust him. And I'll say, I don't want to spoil it for people that may play it, but it may not be a good thing that you learned about him. And it may be a thing that makes you trust him a little bit less, but at the same time, you're just it's also none of your business. And it's also it just makes you, it actually makes you feel bad for snooping. It's interesting. Anyway, I just, the trophy list being as it is, though, just discourages me from playing, because the whole time I'm playing it, I'm just I'm never going to platinum this game, which bums me out, because there are games like this where I'm man, I would really love to play this game to its fullest extent and platinum it and stuff, but when the trophy list is just dumb, I gotta be honest, it just completely discourages me from seeing it through. I mean, I still want to play through it, I still want to beat it, I want to see the story through, because the story is so good, the lore is so good, the stealth mechanics are so fun, I want to see it through to the end. I'm just bummed out that I'm almost certainly never going to find the time to platinum the game. So, it's a bummer. But, I still recommend it. A Ghost of a Tale. Really interesting little indie game. The other game that I've been playing, because I have been looking desperately for I've been looking for something big and meaty and brainless.
I'll show you something.
Something big and meaty and brainless? So one of the series that I've long
Title of this episode.
a big meaty brainless. One of the series that I've long wanted to get into is the Yakuza series, and I've dabbled.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, I've dabbled in
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I think I played Yakuza 3 on like PS3 for a couple hours. And like I enjoyed it, but I've never actually sat and played it. Well, now, since they have done Yakuza 0, which is like a prequel game, like the earliest game in the series, and they've actually remade Yakuza 1 and 2 completely, called Yakuza Kiwami and Kiwami 2. And essentially they're getting it to the point where the entire series is going to be under one roof on PS4. So I spent $20 and I picked up a copy of Yakuza 0. And I've been playing it. I've only put a couple of hours into it, but I gotta say, I'm really digging it. Mm-hmm. It's really fun. It's really it has like this brawler combat that's very arcadey, but like it kind of reminds me of Arkham Combat a little bit, but it's much more. It's actually a little bit more complex, but still feeling like fast and fluid, like Arkham Combat. And it all takes place in Japan, obviously, and it has this really like interesting like tourism element to it, where their depiction of Japan is like so accurate that you literally feel like you're just walking down the streets of Japan. Like it's escapism in its purest form. Like early in the game, by the way, sets up like a very self-serious and interesting like murder mystery. But then at the same time, early in the game, you're hanging out with your buddy and you're drinking and like eating ramen and singing karaoke and shit like that. So like Yakuza is like all about this juxtaposition from an actual really good serious story, but then also goofy shit. Like goofy Japanese shit.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And I really like that. There's a vibe to Yakuza. Even just in the couple of hours that I've played, like there's an intangible vibe that is very like as I'm playing this, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can tell that this is my kind of game, So I'm definitely going to be playing way more of that. That's probably going to be my main game for the foreseeable future, Yakuza 0, and I will definitely report back as I've put more time into it. We've actually gone way further on what we've been playing than I expected us to, so I think it's time we dive into the news. What say you?
Let's do it.
So we've got not a ton of news this week, but the news that we do have is relatively interesting. I want to start with something sort of recent that just happened actually, I think yesterday at the time of this recording. So EA has laid off about 350 employees in their marketing division. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. They say that it's like a necessary to address their challenges. Now, let's be perfectly clear. 350 employees is about 4% of EA's total workforce.
Yep.
So a drop in the bucket. And again, I want to be fully transparent. It sounds like EA is doing a full like severance package, and they're even trying to rework some of these employees into different areas of the company. So, they're doing it right. But I just, I gotta say, like, all these layoffs that have been happening recently, it's been kind of a bummer year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Between this and like the Activision Blizzard layoffs that we heard about just what, a month, 2 months ago?
Yes, yeah. It's like I think Dead Ash was like last month.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like constant. It's like a constant thing. You're just always hearing about these, the Telltale layoffs late last year. It's like, fuck, like what's going on? It's a bit of a bummer, and like EA in particular has had kind of a rough year with all the drama going on behind their Star Wars games and shuttering studios, and it's just, I don't like it. I hope these people, certainly wish them all the best. Hope they land on their feet. Hopefully a lot of these people do get worked into the back into the company, but it sounds like, and you know what, the icing on the cake for this happens the week after GDC, the Game Developers Conference.
Yeah.
Which would have been the perfect place if they had laid these people off before GDC. These people could have went to GDC and handed out their resumes.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's shitty.
Anyway, I want to talk about something that happened this past week. This past Monday, Sony decided to kind of steal a little bit of Nintendo's thunder, shall we say.
Oh, God.
A very Nintendo Direct style initiative by Sony called PlayStation State of Play, which is essentially very much in line with Nintendo Directs. It is a streamed sort of like news drop that Sony's doing. They did their very first one this past Monday. And yeah, what'd you think about it?
It's a whole lot of nothing.
I'll say this.
It's like 20 minutes of shit.
It was 20 minutes long. It was, I'll say this. I want to start with the positives first. Thinking positively on this, I really enjoyed the pacing of it.
Yeah, they kept, that's something I do agree. Like, that they kept that shit moving.
It was no nonsense. It was boom, boom, boom. You know, they didn't, here's the thing about Nintendo is, like, Nintendo likes to stop and talk. You know,
I don't need that, honestly.
With the Nintendo Directs, like they like to be like, oh, like they'll announce a new Fire Emblem and then they'll talk for 2-3 minutes about it or whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, I kind of like I do agree. I like the pacing of it. Just show me some games.
Yeah, they basically just full force showed us some games, and yeah, there's a little bit of narration. You know what I mean? We got a couple of new announcements. We got the Iron Man VR announcement. I can't really point to any major game announcements that were made at the show, or made during the State of Play. Nothing
crazy, honestly.
Yeah, Iron Man VR I think was probably the most significant new announcement that was made. A lot of it, so Nintendo, like I said, they like to stop and talk. The difference is that Nintendo actually drops news that is worth stopping and talking about, because State of Play. Yes, it was a lot of news. Yes, it was paced well, and yes, it was like very rapid fire, but it was no newsworthy elements at all.
Yep, it was just rapid fire VR games.
Most of it was VR games, very little like announcements, very little release date clarification. Mostly it was, here's some VR games, and here are some games that are getting updated with VR support. That was like 99% of the
I'll say this,
show.
like No Man's Sky VR. That's pretty legit.
No, that looks great. That looks totally great.
That is like, that makes so much fucking sense to me. Like, it should have been done earlier.
Yeah, that makes total sense, and like, I mean, look, it was good of them to show more Concrete Genie. Concrete Genie is a game that I've had my eye on for a while, and like that game continues to look awesome. What really would have sold this State of Play for me, and I was telling you this right after, like, it would have been so cool if they like shadow dropped that. That
would have been fucking crazy.
It would have been really cool. Or even if they took a little bit of a different approach, why not tell me, we're here at the end of March, why not use State of Play as a platform to announce the new PS Plus games for next month?
Yeah.
Or something.
Oh, that would be cool to do that.
Yeah, just something. I mean, we're already here. Just go ahead and tell us what next month's PS Plus games are going to be, or maybe highlight some upcoming sales that are going to be happening on the PlayStation Network. Something to differentiate yourself a little bit from a Nintendo Direct and give people something that would actually be cool. Rather than just focusing. Look, it's cool that they focused on PSVR. It's nice that PSVR is not dead. PSVR is a success, and they are supporting VR, and that's really cool. I think it's smart of Sony to be supporting VR. But, I mean, like, fuck. Like, how many people watching that are really like salivating over all the PSVR announcements?
Shit, I know I wasn't.
It was like a 99% PSVR and then like some Days Gone shit.
What's funny is like, we're like, me and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get home, I want to sleep a little longer, wake up for that, watch it together, like we do the directs. And I think afterwards I'm like, shit.
Yeah, we went and saw Us that day, and like we had to like rush home to get home in time for it. And I was like, man, I rushed home for this.
And it's like, I woke up for this? Like, shit.
I'm not saying it was bad. It was just a little bit of like I didn't need to watch that.
It was underwhelming. It was just underwhelming. It was like, I didn't need to watch that. I could have just got all that shit from like a Kotaku article or some shit.
It was such a drop in the bucket that like, if you were to even go on Kotaku, you wouldn't see that many headlines about it, because there's not that many headlines to get from it.
Yep.
If I were writing for a news site, I would write, yeah, Iron Man VR got announced. Like, that's about it. Like, there weren't that many new game announcements. It was mostly VR modes being included for games that we already knew about.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's just a little bit weird. I really thought that with this being the first State of Play event, I thought they were going to come out swinging, you know? I was hoping for some release dates. Even like, yeah, it was cool that they showed Concrete Genie. Even that, just a fall 2019 release date.
I actually, that's the first time I've ever heard of that game. That shit looks legit.
So you must have missed it because they did show it at last E3.
I'll be honest, I like zone the fuck out sometimes.
Yeah, you must have missed it. I'll say this: there was another new game announcement. I forget what it's. Oh, what's it called? That one where it's like a dungeon crawler. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a co-op dungeon crawler for PlayStation.
Oh, you're talking about the one that's like where like it's actually like PvP though.
Yeah, I guess at the end of it becomes a PvP experience at the end of the dungeon.
Yeah. I don't remember what the fuck it's called.
And like it's an interesting concept, but I gotta be honest with you. Like looking at it, looked a little rough. Like gameplay wise, like it looked kind of early.
Yeah.
You know,
it did.
But that was an interesting like concept, at least as a as a PlayStation exclusive experience to show off in the State of Play event. I don't know. Did I think it was bad? No, I just thought it was underwhelming. Yep. You know, it's fine. I hope that they take some of this feedback though, and when they do another State of Play event, they really amp it up and kind of give us something to talk about. Because this could have been anything, like. The possibilities were really endless with State of Play. It's like, fuck, Sony's dipped out of E3 for this year. I mean, for all we knew, this State of Play could have been our first tease of PS5. For fuck's sake. I wouldn't have never predicted that they would do that. I think it would have been a huge mistake if they were to do that, but it could have been, for all we know. But that's not what it was. It was just a bunch of VR shit.
Bunch of bullshit.
One last thing I've got here for the news, Todd. Kind of a slow news week. According to the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo will be releasing 2 new models of the Nintendo Switch in 2019.
Okay.
One, they say, quote, will have advanced features targeted at avid video gamers, although they report that it won't be as powerful as PS4 Pro or Xbox One X, of course. The other is a cheaper option for casual gamers that Nintendo sees as a successor to its aging handheld 3DS device.
Okay.
Supposedly, this model will cut costs by removing superfluous features such as vibration in the Joy-Cons, like the HD rumble, and there have long been rumors that a Switch without a dock is on the horizon, so I presume that this is going to be that too. I mean,
just straight up, just a handheld
the
version
Switch.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's yeah.
They say that they would probably make this model a little more sturdy, like for kids. If they drop it, it's not going to break.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like, I think this is totally true. I think this makes perfect sense.
Oh, I can definitely see it happening.
And actually, the report was confirmed by Eurogamer as well. They actually said like, yeah, this is happening. So this seems like this is going to be a thing, and in fact, some folks were saying that it might actually like be announced at E3 and then come out like right after E3. So I guess we'll see.
I'd like to see what the more powerful model is going to be. Like.
I feel like it's going to be a pretty iterative upgrade in that I don't think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh fuck, it's going to be like twice as powerful. I think it's going to be just keeping my expectations. Knowing Nintendo the way I know Nintendo, which is very well, keeping my expectations curbed. I think that it's probably going to be like the new 3DS, where it's a little more powerful. It has a few like nice upgrades. Like one of the things that a lot of people want with the Switch is they want a smaller bezel. So they basically want more screen real estate.
Okay.
Because the Switch has got a bezel like sort of a barrier that it just doesn't need on its screen. You can just completely get rid of it and have more screen space, right? So a lot of people want that. A lot of people want longer battery life, which I think is a given with this sort of like Pro enhancement. And some little features I think are probably going to be built into this thing. Some little quality of life features. I don't think it's going to be some huge upgrade. I really don't. It's going to be for like enthusiasts. It's going to be for like people like me that are going to buy it.
Yeah, I'd probably say I'm going to look at it and be like, I'm good with mine.
Yeah, like I don't think it's going to be the sort of upgrade that like you're going to need to rush out and buy. But for me, it's going to fit in well with me because I was going to get another Switch anyway. So, like, I probably will end up buying whatever it is. I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll come out and they'll say, yeah, no, this is like Switch. This is the next upgrade for the Switch. It's like way more powerful. I mean, look, who knows? As for the cheaper one, I think that's really smart. And I'm telling you, when that comes out, the Switch is really going to start moving some more units. That move is going to really start propelling Switch into the future. Because, I mean, look, and there are already people bitching about this idea of kind of selling a Switch without a dock. The thing about it is, you could always buy the dock separately. And the Switch claimed it was a handheld console hybrid. And that's still what it is. You're choosing to get it as the handheld version, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's still what it is. And if they're going to cut out features like HD Rumble, which you don't super need, it's nice, but you don't super need it. You could cut costs by taking that out. You take the dock out. I mean, I'm sure you could knock $100 off the Switch, if not more. I mean, if they're going to come out and they're going to release this handheld-only Switch for $199, I mean, that's going to sell like crazy this holiday. I mean, they're really the Switch is going to end up selling way more units this holiday, especially with Pokemon coming out. They're going to come out with a bundle, and they're going to say, hey, like, here's a Pokemon Sword and Shield bundle. Here's a Switch. 3DS owners, come on over. We've made it very easy for you. Come on over. You've got your handheld. You've got your Pokemon. Come on over. So, and to me, it shows a little bit of confidence on Nintendo's part also for finally sort of abandoning the 3DS, which is nice. Because, like...
That's about time, honestly.
It is. Like, I love my 3DS, don't get me wrong, but it's gotten so long in the tooth. Like, the 3DS came out in, like, 2011, I think.
Shit.
I think it came out in March of 2011. I think it is officially over 8 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
It's time.
So it's just like, just put it down. Like, it's like take it out back. Tell it, just look at the flowers, 3DS.
Oh,
just look at the flowers. Don't get me wrong, love my 3DS. Great library of games. But it's like I have not laid a finger on my 3DS in like easily over a year. So anyway, that's about all I had for the news. Like I said, slow news week, but some interesting items nonetheless. Did you want to add anything else before we put a bow on this one?
I think that's about it.
All right, well, thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next week. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
See ya.
Hey there, thanks for checking out another fantastic Nerd Bourbon video. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, leave us a like, drop us a nice comment, or I guess a mean one if that's your prerogative. But until next time, get dunked on.